There was a moment that I decided to take back my brain. I also lived without knowing that I had lost my brain. My brain is mine, ordinary people usually think. I live by my spirit. Why then do so many people live such troubled lives, losing their self-esteem and failing to adapt to society? I was faced with a situation much more difficult than that of the average person. I was born at the time of the Korean War, when everyone was fleeing the fighting. Having just given birth at the time, my mother would have been extremely anxious. If we're going to die, my grandmother told my mother, then let's just die here. I'll protect you, she said. Even after everyone else had already fled, Grandma stayed beside Mom, telling her, don't worry about a thing. You just focus on having your baby. But the sounds of artillery fire were all around them, and everyone was fleeing the fighting. A huge number of people might die if the enemy had broken through. You're pregnant with a child, and the enemy are people too. Why would they hurt you, Grandma said, comforting my mother, according to what I've heard. If you die, I'll die too. So don't worry about anything and just focus on having your baby. I was born in that environment. All that I feel probably had an effect on me too. When I was young, I couldn't sit still because I wasn't emotionally stable. And I couldn't really focus on what the teacher was saying during class at school. Even though I was in class, I thought about something else. And I wasn't happy to be in class. And I was extremely unhappy about doing something I didn't enjoy. My classmates were all trying to adapt and reach the top of the class in school, but I couldn't adapt. I didn't go to school because I wanted to. Before I was admitted to school, I got in trouble with my parents for asking them whether I really had to go, begging them for just one more year of play. I was that kind of kid. There were tons of strawberries and things to play with in the mountains, and I hated that I had to go to school. I was about to go to school without even really being ready for it. So that's when I started thinking, why should I go to school? Why should I go to school? And at school, the teacher would only talk about things that had nothing to do with me at all. Since I was their eldest son, my parents didn't worry too much about it when I was in elementary school, expecting that things would improve in middle school. But I was exactly the same way in middle school. In a way, I was really disconnected. I couldn't connect with my teachers, and I didn't interact with my friends either. I was interested in what I liked and nothing else. Being that way, I failed to adapt to school life, and though I always wanted to be a good son to my parents, I wasn't able to do that. I just got love from my parents without giving anything in return. So there was no way I would develop self-esteem. I made it out of elementary school, middle school, and high school with that attitude, and I couldn't go to college. I failed the college entrance exam 3 times, and my school grades were very low. The way I remember it, there was just one person who had worse grades than me. I was ranked second to last in my class. So, I didn't do homework. I didn't take notes. For good penmanship, you have to write often, but I didn't practice writing. Even I thought my handwriting was hideous. I didn't like my handwriting, and even my school teachers gave up on me. Getting older, I had to go into the military, and reality hit home for me in that situation. I'm an adult now, so what am I going to do to make a living after I leave the military? Everybody else went to college, but not me. And I had no certifications either. And if I made a living by farming in the country? Farming at that time was the least respected and least paid occupation. Looking at it in terms of social class, it was a real working class, lower class job. So I thought, how am I going to live like this? I had very low self-esteem. How low was it? There was a garbage dump under a bridge by the side of the road where I lived. The rain would come and wash away all the garbage, taking it down beneath the bridge. No one cleaned up that trash. Everyone dumped trash there. Looking at that garbage, I felt like garbage myself. I was garbage. My parents couldn't do anything for me and acted like I was a burden. Everybody acted like I was a burden. I was so emotionally stunted that I could look at flowers but feel no beauty. Without self-esteem, you sense no beauty, even in flowers. I didn't have many friends either. I exercised, at least I exercised, and I maintained a minimal level of self-esteem by working out. I'm not weak. I worked out hard and often. At the gym, I was the boss. Not at school or anywhere else though. But it's not like I could live at the gym. I always say, to recover your self-esteem, do one thing well, whatever it is, something you like. I wouldn't have been able to save my self-esteem if I hadn't at least exercised then. Such self-esteem didn't mean much in the world back then. I mean, you couldn't make a living in society by being good at sports. In Korean society now, you can make a decent living through sports. But back in my time, singing well and things like that were despised as the work of low-class performers. Sports, they thought, were for the unintelligent. That's the way it was. That's why, looking at the garbage then, I felt that I was garbage. What's important is that self-reflection is indispensable for taking back your brain. Reflecting, immersed in intense self-assessment, I thought, I'm garbage. But even while thinking I was garbage, I felt sorry for the real trash. I ended up having this amazing thought. Is there some way I can give hope to that garbage, instead of leaving it lying there? Poor garbage. I mean, I had never really felt sorry for myself. I have never felt sorry for myself even once. I had lived thinking, it'll work out someday. Somehow everything will be okay. But time passed so fast, and I was at the age when I had to go to the military. Other people became officers. They did well academically and went to good colleges, but I would have to go in without anything with the lowest rank in the military. I felt really bad for my father and also for my mother. They had lived a hard life farming, and Dad was a school teacher, so he was ashamed of me. In that situation, as I looked at the garbage, I really came to understand that I was garbage and thought I should give the garbage hope. It felt really strange. Thinking I should give hope to myself wasn't motivating, but I thought I should give hope to the garbage, inanimate matter, and for garbage, hope is becoming fertilizer. If I leave it like that, I thought, the trash will end as just that, trash. If I take the refuse up the mountain and put it in a hole, mixing it with soil, it will become fertilizer. And if I plant pumpkin seeds there, it will grow pumpkins. Couldn't garbage become pumpkins? It's still amazing how I thought about that. My thoughts felt so beautiful that I immediately looked for an A-frame. It was hellish for my parents that I was farming, since in rural areas, it was the least educated people who did the farming. In those days, it wasn't good to carry an A-frame on your back, but now the world has changed a lot. When you live immersed in the mistaken ideas of the world, you inevitably end up following along. If, that is, you become a slave of worldly ideas. Many commit suicide, stressed by how the world evaluates them. Many entertainers commit suicide. Once popular people kill themselves when their popularity wanes. Some kill themselves when they fail a test. And many commit suicide when they can no longer endure such worldly evaluations. So, shouldering an A-frame, I carried that trash up the mountain. Mom was ashamed though, because I was working so hard at it. The very fact that I was wearing an A-frame in a place the people of our village passed by most often embarrassed her. There were 2 farmhands who worked at our house back then. Mom told me not to do the work, saying she would have them do it instead. Passing by men from the village said, "The teacher's boy must be crazy. Why is he picking up the garbage?" I couldn't just leave it there. People dumped the bodies of dead pigs there, and the smell was the worst, the stench severe. Even though I was healthy and strong, I wasn't used to carrying an A-frame, so the skin on my back got all raw. I started working in the early morning. I think I carried in my heart an incredible anger coming from anxiety, worry, and the shame I felt from losing my self-esteem. With all that anger, I shouldered the A-frame and thought hard about how many holes I should dig. I like the number 360. I mean, it's a perfect number. 360 came to mind. I ended up digging 360 holes. Digging all those holes wasn't easy, but the manure was very heavy, and doing the work while carrying that on my back was a big problem. But I thought I should do the work. I thought I should do it all. A lot was involved in that idea, I think. I was looking for a justification, an excuse to pour out my pride, self-esteem, my shame, my fear, all those kinds of feelings about my failure to adapt. I did the work and planted pumpkin seeds. And the pumpkins grew very well. So, I threw a pumpkin party. I handed out all the pumpkins to my neighbors. Doing this, I developed patience. I realized I could do something even if it's hard. In the past, I didn't do anything hard. I couldn't sit still for even 5 minutes. But after that, I could sit and study 6 hours or even 8 hours straight. I studied for 6 months where I had never studied before and got into a college night school program. I discovered myself through self-reflection, and I started making my own choices, not doing what they told me to do at school, and not what my parents told me to do. Making my own choices, I have recovered self-esteem and have been managing my body and talking with my brain. I haven't had any free time since then.